Okay, hey, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really great update for you from the brand Fanos, which is a term of Greek and Egyptian origin, which literally translates into lantern or guiding light. They're an upstart micro brand that made it all the way through Kickstarter, and this is my follow-up. I did previously preview their prototype, and 2 years later, finally got my hands on an actual production model. So big shout out to the brand for getting this to me. Yeah, this is clearly a dive watch. Some key common characteristics: when you're looking at a diver, you're gonna want water resistance to with some type of screw down crown. You're gonna want something that's tough, legible, with a dive time bezel, and a diver's extension is always nice if on bracelet. This is their Osimiri, and it's an homage. It's a very clear homage to the Tudor Pelagos without being a direct carbon copy, which I really appreciate. In terms of the pricing on this, you can get this directly from the brand for $669 or $694 with this additional rubber strap. So you're going to get it. It's already going to come with the standard titanium bracelet, but if you pay a little extra, you get this awesome strap. Of course, the prototype was shown to you guys on the bracelet, so I figured why not show you guys on the strap. And I think that's really where this watch impresses, is on this strap. So I think it's worth the extra dough there to really elevate this watch into something that just feels really great on the wrist. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys. So as you can see, very handsome, very matte, right? So you're getting that matte ceramic bezel insert, matte chaptering, matte dial, matte, and everything is matted down. Even the titanium on this case, even though it still does have beautiful beveling, although it's done in a matte brushed finish there, it still stands out. And of course you can see that helium escape valve, which is nicely integrated there. So very nice solid tech. And let's get into the dimensions here. So 42 millimeters in diameter if you were to measure it across there, 14 millimeters thick, 50 millimeters lug to lug, which might be large for some, but you can see, especially with this beautiful, let me give it a quick little wipe there, these very sloping ends on these straps that are fitted and integrated beautifully. You can see that it doesn't extend out that lug to lug at all, and you'll also notice that it wears really well on my wrist. So getting down into now the sapphire, this does have a nice single dome sapphire. So if you get to some really harsh angles, you can see there's gonna be a little bit of distortion at a very harsh angle, and that's just because essentially it is curved on the outside but not on the inside, which isn't as noticeable when you're underwater. But when you're looking at it at angle here, you can see there is going to be a little bit of distortion there at the edges. But you can see it's a very mild curvature on the top crystal, which means it's going to be a little bit more mild in terms of that distortion there, which some people have enjoyed the distortion. For me, I kind of prefer ultimate clarity and legibility, especially with a dive watch. But I can appreciate, that aesthetically some folks do like a little bit of play like that, just to give you some visual interest. Now, getting into the bezel, here we go. Let's do it. Oh man, this thing is just awesome. I think you can kind of see that it does have like ball bearings in there. So this is, wow. Ooh. 120 click, unidirectional, engraved and loomed ceramic insert. This thing is just really, really well done. And you can see, maybe if I shake it up, you can see about that much play in it, which is not much at all. So this is definitely one of the better bezel actions I've felt, especially from an independent microbrand, which, funny enough, microbrands seem to really nail it when it comes to tactile engagement and bezel action. So this is just, oh man, this is a standout, I gotta say. Wow, that is beautiful. And another nice thing is because of that matte insert, you don't see a bunch of my fingerprint smudges on it like you would see with a glossy insert. So very, very cool. Also, you do have this nice screw down crown, which is signed and lumed, as you can see there. See how it's kind of white filled. That's actually luminous material, which is going to glow in the dark as well. Now, getting into the case back, nicely screwed down, as you can see, with some great etching there with all the information. And then underneath that, surprising enough, an ETA, a Swiss ETA 2824 movement, which is great, especially when you consider the price point. Like, this is under $1,000. You're getting a Swiss ETA in here. I mean, this is the movement that Tudor used to put in their own Pelagos before they went over to the in-house, or I should say in-group manufacturer movements. So, you know, they are even truer to the Tudor ethos than Tudor themselves today by, you know, taking, essentially a really high-end case and putting something more pedestrian in there to make it more daily wearable, which I think is great. And of course, yeah, the ETA 2824 is a workhorse, guys, and you know, it's nice, and a lot of people prefer the ETA 2824 versus any of its clones. A lot of times, mostly just for the sake of originality. It's nice, so I can appreciate it as well. The case back doesn't show it off to you or anything, but it's nicely etched, and then you can see underneath this beautiful strap here, which is fantastic, which we'll get to again later. But before that, let's get into this dial. So we do have that great matte blue dial, that 3D sloped chaptering with those great relief cutouts for those applied indices. You're getting the date at 6 o'clock, you're getting painted hands, and then you're getting just a ton of BGW9 Swiss Superluminova, 500 meters of water resistance or 50 atmospheres, and then you get 22 millimeter lugs, which are great. And then of course you can see this strap is nicely integrated, so although you could put it on other straps, I don't know why you'd want to, because this thing is actually really, really well done. So you can get it, of course, no matter what you do, you can buy it, and it'll come with a solid 3-link bracelet or a 3-link look bracelet. And it basically will taper from 22 down to 20, has push pin connectors, double locking push button clasp with micro adjustment holes. Nothing to really write home about. It's very standard. It does the job, but it does have a male end link, which I wasn't a huge fan of. So I definitely like this better. And I think this pairing with the case and everything just is more commensurate with the quality of the watch. So I do enjoy it better on this great strap. But in terms of this strap, is molded and of course fitted end rubber strap, tapers down to 20 millimeters, and then you get this nicely signed milled buckle, fully milled. Even the little finger there is milled, and you can see very well done and very nice, and everything just kind of flows. You get the great relief on the backside, for draining water out if you're coming in and out of the water, as well as ventilation for your wrist of any sweat or anything like that. So very, very cool. But speaking of on the wrist, let's actually get this piece on wrist and see how it wears. Okay guys, as you can see on my 7.5-inch wrist, wears really, really nicely, wears bold, wears like a tool watch should. And if I get it really close to the camera there, you're gonna see a good amount of lens distortion, making it appear larger than it actually is. So what I'll do is I'll leave my wrist down here and just tighten the shot up, just to give you a little bit of a better aspect ratio of how this is going to visually appear maybe on your own wrist. And you can see here it's more nicely centered at this kind of a viewing angle, and then you can also notice that it does, although it is a relatively flat kind of slab-sided style watch, I'd say it wears its heft really, really well. Look at that. Lays nice and flat, just wraps around the wrist. You do get the great contours of the strap, making it feel a lot more modern, sporty, and high end. And I appreciate that. This thing is very, very cool. And honestly, if you're not into watches, you see this and you just think this is just a really cool, sporty dive watch. You find out it's titanium and has a Swiss movement, and you're still impressed, right? And you might not even know what a Pelagos is. You might even pronounce it Pelagos or Pelagos. Who knows? Who knows? I sure don't, but I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me. So this thing is really, really nice. I love the way it looks. Of course, it does tie in to that beautiful Pelagos style in terms of being a modern dive watch. You get the titanium, you even get the fun shades of blue. But, you know, they remix a little bit. You have the more rounded aesthetics on the dial furniture. And then, of course, the more, I'd say, universal kind of plunger hands there versus the snowflake hands. So, I mean, could they have remixed a little bit more, a little bit less? I'm sure you could have. You could have made it a little bit. Some people would prefer more of a one-to-one copy, and some people would have preferred something a little bit more original. I do like that they kind of went somewhere in the middle with it, where you're getting something that just looks really, really great, and reads as a very nice watch. And they didn't just change things just for the sake of changing them to try to differentiate themselves too much. They knew kind of what their vision was, and they executed based off that. And, you know, they provide, again, in terms of specs, I mean, this thing is a spec monster. 500 meters of water resistance, titanium, sapphire, ceramic, loads of BGW9. I mean, this is very, very good. So with that said, let's actually get it off the wrist and set up for some lume shots, a light transition, and closing thoughts. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Yes, as you can see, that lume is absolutely fantastic, just like you would expect from a modern dive watch, especially one that's paying tribute to such an iconic modern dive watch. But you can even see here that, of course, that crown is also lumed. Check that out. But let's get this back down so we can keep it in focus and on point. That's how bright it is that the camera can even keep the focus on it. Sometimes you guys will notice the camera wants to lose focus because it's a little bit too dim. You can see the camera is still just loving the lume on here. That BGW9 is really, really well executed. But one thing I always like to work in, of course, is a little bit of low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you're going to find yourself coming in and out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or maybe just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree, or spending some time in your favorite automobile. So it's nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting, to maybe even include some harsh lighting, where, you know, you could typically expose any type of, you know, little specks of something on the dial, any type of defects in the finish. But all you can see here is just a couple of fingerprints here and there on that great satin brushed finish that just flows with this. And you can see the blue, it's very hard to color match, you know, different materials and different colors. I think they do a good job here, because at different angles, different pieces, you can see match, and it doesn't ever feel too tone on tone. You can see there now the strap and the dial match a little bit more, where the bezel is being a little bit more washed out, and then here the dial becomes a little bit washed out. So the nice thing is it doesn't look too cartoony, right? Which can be an issue, especially with a brighter blue like this versus a deeper, darker navy. So I will say that is actually something in its, you know, to its credit, that this brand has done with this model, is really make sure that the colors and everything play well together. Doesn't look too matchy, doesn't look too cartoony, because it's a really cool and serious piece. Let's give it a little, what is that? Okay, now it's gone. Now it's gone. All right. So with that said, guys, let's get into closing thoughts. So on the wrist, very Pelagos-like proportions, guys. Tooly and substantial without feeling overly hefty, thanks to that titanium construction. Now, in terms of model variants, it's also available in a black dial, with the main options being kind of, you know, of course, with or without the additional rubber strap, as well as a small visual choice on the chapter ring. You can either choose it with or without the text Swiss movement. Typically where you would see Swiss made, you would have Swiss movement on this watch. I chose a model to forego that because I feel like you know, hey, it's a Swiss movement, that's cool. But if it's not Swiss made, it's not really worth mentioning. So I do like that, and it looks a little bit cleaner in my eye. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And in terms of comparable models, this is an extremely competitive space, right? Under 1,000, under $700 technically. So it's tough, right? Like there's a lot that's there within this space, but are there a lot of Swiss ETA 2824 powered watches that have 500 meters of water resistance, you know, titanium case, integrated strap that's really well executed, ball bearing, you know, world, you know, comparable action on the bezel insert? I mean, typically the bezel action on a titanium watch is worse versus its stainless steel counterparts, you know, at least in my experience. So it is nice to see this. Just wow, this reacted really, really well. Great action. So this one just it stands out, even though, yeah, it is absolutely a very, you know, very competitive field. So for me, with a combination of clean aesthetics and high specs, the Osimiri, you know, could easily become the go-to choice for anybody that's searching for an affordable Pelagos alternative. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't try this one. You know, maybe your alternative, you might want it to be slightly more original, but again, that's the trade-off, right? You can get something that is going to be more original, that's going to cost more, right? Typically, or it's going to have less specs, you know, than this has. So it's a nice balance of spec, aesthetic, and execution, I think, personally. But let me know in the comments below. There's other watches that you might think are a better comparable, or might be a little bit more of your cup of tea if you're looking for this type of watch. But for me, on the integrated strap here, this one just really fills a space that I think is really underutilized, being a modern, you know, dive watch, right? So many dive watch, you know, models that are out there today are just so heavily reliant on, you know, looking like an old school skin diver. You know, it's nice to see something that is less reliant on that design aesthetic and is able to take something very modern and also at the same time kind of smooth it over and put their own spin on it, while keeping the specs very strong, very competitive, at a very, I think, strong price point as well. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.